we were talking in the pre-interview about, spray and pray and how it doesn't work anymore. So talk to me about why doesn't it work? And then we'll get into what you recommend to do differently.
Well, I mean, look, so little disclaimer, everything technically works to some extent. It's just how effective it is, right? I mean, you can give a SDR a list of 1,000 people. If it calls them all, it'll book meetings. But we are at the point in time that technology can now help us refine this list, sometimes to a ridiculously good level of detail. So instead of trying to call like 100, let's say, let's go to recruitment, right? Very simple example. You can call 100 companies that might be recruiting for salespeople, or you can try and find the 15 that currently are, and then target the specific person that's the most likely to either know who's in charge or being in charge. And don't you prefer to make those 15 targeted calls? And then what will this do is also you don't demotivate the cold callers, right? Because there's some people still calling reception. There's some people like making loads of calls. And imagine you get through, someone picks up the phone and it's not even the right person, right? Or it's just not relevant at all. That's why I much prefer a very targeted approach to the call.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, with all the tools that are out there right now, like we've got a client that they had a list of like 800,000 potential prospects. And they have a very specific...
What, are they selling candy?
No, it's like a type of shipping. And so they were going like anybody who ships. And we basically found a method they have a very specific thing that they ship. And we just used a clay sheet that was like, okay, go scrape the website, go look at this, throw it into a GPT query and be like, hey, tell me if this company's a good fit or not. And like we went from 800,000 to, I don't know, 10,000. And like we were bowling zeros. I was worried about the engagement. I'm like, I think I can make this work. And it's so much easier. It's the needle in a haystack. There aren't going to be perfect filtering, sorting mechanisms for every single, use case out there. Everybody's listing, like hopefully there are a couple, but it's not going to be for everybody. But to your point, if you are just downloading a list off of Apollo and you're calling the office line, you're probably at a disadvantage compared to every other SDR out there.
Yeah, exactly. I look, these days, it's not anymore the times that you can just tell people to call and they'll do it. They'll just go somewhere else. We are at that point that the fluidity of the workforce is even higher. So, and I'm glad you mentioned Clay. I think if you're not using Clay to build your lists, you are basically going to become a dinosaur in the space of a couple of years.
Yeah, this podcast sponsored by Clay. Not really. That'd be great.